Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavinski's Tutorials. Today I'm looking at Beef by Caelum Audio. So this is marketed as something to beef up your audio. Basically it's a sound design tool that can do saturation, that can add noise to your signal, do a bit of bit crushing, transient shaping, and so on. I've got 5 copies, by the way, of any app by Caelum Audio to give away to subscribers to the channel today. If you're not a subscriber yet, you can subscribe now, that's fine. All the details of what you've got to do to win are in the pinned comment at the top of the YouTube comment section. If we take a quick look at the App Store, that basically means there are probably a choice of 4 paid apps that you might want to say that you'd like to win. So one is Smooth, which is a gentle compressor. One is Schlap, which is a more extreme compressor. They've got a few free apps as well. So download those and check them out. They're very good. Tape Pro is one of their paid apps. That's a very nice tape emulation effect. And I have reviewed that before, so you can go and watch my video on that maybe. So that's your choice of 4 apps that you could say that you'd like to win as part of today's giveaway. So before we go through the interface, let's just listen to a few examples of this on a few things. Now I have got this spread over 2 AUM sessions because when I had all the stuff that I wanted to use in one, it was pushing the CPU too hard. So I'll look at drums and bass in the next session. Here I'm looking a bit more at what it can sound like on keys and pads and things. I'll also use the session for the main walkthrough. If you watch all this video, you won't need to read the manual. There's a good manual, so I'm very happy that Caelum Audio did a decent manual on this. So let's have a listen. For example, here's Add Station by Versin, an excellent additive synth, which I have also done a video on. We listen to that. Okay, so this is unprocessed. And now I'll add Beef, one of my presets, Pluck off. Or for example, here we've got pure piano and I've got it in reverse mode. I will do a video on this soon, so hang out for that. Probably in the next few days or certainly in the next week. That will also have a giveaway for 3 free copies of this, so make sure you're looking out for that video. Got your notifications on and stuff. So let's listen first of all. I'm using the reverse function here, so we've got a reversed piano sound. I'm using Alteza as a reverb, although pure piano has its own nice reverb. Is really beefing it up. It's almost got a string-like quality to it now. Beautiful. If we look here, I've got ID 700. I know a lot of people are really waiting for me to make a video on this. I'm very busy, guys. I might get round to doing a video on this. I'm not 100% sure, but it's an amazing synth. We're listening here to something kind of pad-like. Do something not too extreme. And here's something more extreme. Playing with bitrate, playing with the EQ, and the rect saturation mode. Might get a bit of clipping from time to time here. This is a very heavy session. Got a lot of stuff going on. Actually, what I'll do is I'll get rid of this channel, and that should bring off a little bit of the pressure on the CPU. Great. listen here, for example, here on a trumpet sound, swamp trumpet. Now, these are MPE instruments, and they're most beautiful when they're played with an MPE controller. But just now, for convenience, I'm using the AUM keyboard. If you like brass sounds, make sure you check out the 3 videos that I did on this collection of 15 MPE physically modeled instruments by Audio Modeling. Absolutely amazing. So here I call this trumpets with attitude. So just beefing it up a bit. Now, let's start our walkthrough here. As I say, later in the video, I'll let you hear this on drums and bass and stuff. I'll also let you hear some 1 or 2 examples of some of the other artist presets as well. So I want to show you something cool that we can do with Gauss. So if we take just a pure sine tone like I'm generating here from AU Gen X, and we open up an instance of Gauss, I think a lot of people are not familiar with how to do this in Gauss. Now, this is one of my most used apps, and I made a video on this. It's one of my most popular videos on this channel. Go and check it out. This was, I think, the best-selling app of last year. So, first thing we do, go into mouse, turn on the monitor, and let's just record a little bit. And for this purpose, it doesn't matter really how long we record. Just a short recording. If we wanted, we could add a bit of volume, but I'm not going to because Beef is going to add quite a lot of volume. Next thing I'm going to do is press trig. And now we're getting this enveloped triggers. I'm going to bring the attack down over here and the decay. So it has faster attack and decay. I'm going to bring in another trigger to make it a bit more interesting, make it a bit more polyrhythmic. And then I'm going to play with the pitches of the steps that are being generated. It's pretty cool. Okay, so we've got a default Beef here. So what we'll do is we'll play with this sound while looking at the interface. Actually, I'll use another one that I did. Let's use this one. Put a little bit of delay on here as well. So if we see what we've got here, we've got this equalizer section. So this is for tone shaping, and this takes effect before all the distortion is added and after. So this equalizer is active at 2 positions in the signal chain. Now the mid, we have a variable mid frequency here. Okay, so here we can shape our tone. Okay, now here we can add noise. And this is not actually adding noise, it's generating noise out of our signal by doing very fast modulation that creates white noise. And then here we filter that noise. And here we're controlling the frequency, and here we're controlling the Q. So with the low value, we'll have, it'll be wider, and this will be narrower. So that's the noise section. Now, here is the really important bit. So 6 types of saturation, drive to control the amount of these, and tone to shape the sound of them. If they're too harsh, we can bring this down. So let's try on a fairly extreme setting. I'll bring the mid down in the EQ section. So overdrive, distortion. So if you think it's too harsh, just bring the tone knob down. Fuzz. Tube saturation, tape saturation, and rect. So what rect will do is, if you picture a sine wave, I'll just draw a sine wave with my mouse here, just up here. So we have the upper part of the wave, right, and the lower part of the wave. Well, what rect will do is, if the drive button is all the way to the right, it will invert that. So basically then, instead the sine wave will look like this. It'll just look like little hills, one after the other. When the drive is down here, it's not having any effect. And again, this knob to shape your tone. Let's just go back to overdrive. Let's keep it on and check out the crush section. So let's put on some amount. So first we can play with our rate. Just want to say, one criticism I have here is that this only gives us a choice of 32 divisions, and in my opinion this is not enough for always getting a rate that will sound harmonic. So I would like to see more divisions here. Like if I compare this to Bit Juggler, for example, which is my preferred tool for digital distortion, Bit Juggler gives you so many more divisions in the rate that is musically useful. That's one of the criticisms I have of this. Then here, our bit depth. So this is basically affecting amplitude, and this is affecting, it affects range of amplitude, and this affects range of frequencies. And that's why with this we'll get, you know, these kind of stepped feelings between frequencies. And then we can use smoothing to put little envelopes on those, so they're not as harsh. So we get less of a feeling of stepping, less of a jumpy feeling. And of course these are going to change how they sound depending on the kind of saturation we've got going. Like, that's pretty cool. So here we're getting the effect with a lot of gain on the attack portion of the transients, and here on this sustain portion. You can hear the attack is much more aggressive, right? When it's like this. It's very hard when the sound comes in. And then here we're affecting the gain of the signal going into the limiter. and the release time for the limiter. And we can turn this on or off. It's not very easy to see whether it's on or off. The color is extremely subtle. Now over here in the mix section, this is the level of the wet signal. And here is where we mix the wet and dry. So you don't have to get really extreme with this, right? And in fact, it can be very nice to just use subtle amounts. And it might even be nice to modulate the mix amount, or modulate other things going on here, like our bitrate divide, or any number of other parameters. So let's see, are the parameters exposed? Yes, they are. And they're not grouped, but I don't think that matters too much because there aren't that many parameters anyway, so it's easy to find what you're looking for. And they're arranged in a logical order, pretty much. Now there's one more thing I want to show you before we go on and listen to this on drums and bass and stuff. So that is this thing here, preset mode. So if we press preset mode, the screen will change. And now all we'll get control of is the mix level and the volume of the affected signal. But what's cool here is that the mix value will stay the same as we change through presets. So let's say we want something subtle, we decide we want something subtle, but we want to see if another preset might give us a sound we prefer. Just set the mix to the level you want and start scrolling through some presets. Now, one thing that's a little bit weird for me is in most audio units on iOS, when you click on the name of a preset, that is going to bring down the menu. But instead in this, it will actually click this and set it up for editing so you can change the name. That's really hard for me to get used to. So be aware of that. So if you want to open the menu, you've got to click on the arrow here. I am glad, by the way, that there are forwards and backwards arrows. Let's see what Jamie Mellender's got here, for example. I'm going to change to one of the bassier sounds. So you see the mix is staying the same. Good names on your presets, Jamie. You said it, not me. Okay, so we'll listen to some of these guys' presets when we go into the next AUM session and hear some drums and bass. Let's move into that. So here we've got beautiful double bass, swam. Again, this is MP, but I'm not playing at MP here. I'm going to really fatten it up with this. So this is this preset I made. I just increased the mix here a little bit to get it even heavier. Sounds great. This can be good to use on 808s and those kind of things. Okay, going to put on an Ave McCree preset here that I tweaked a little. It's definitely going to help it stand out in the mix a lot more. If we look at something like Rousmacher FM, just a simple kick that has really no punch to it whatsoever. Now listen to it. Let's just check out a few different people's presets on this. Again, if we want it to slap a bit more, quick and dirty way, just put up the mix level, or put up this slider here. Or play with the limiter. Jamie definitely gets the award for best names. This is a preset I did that sounds nice with bell sounds. There's got to be space between them. It'll sound too aggressive if you're playing too many things. So there we go, everyone. Now you have a great idea how to use Beef and what it can do to bass sounds and things like that. Personally, I really, really loved what it did to that Swam double bass. I thought that sounded amazing. So very useful tool. Thanks to Caelum. Just one thing I would say that I would like to see improved. There's a couple of things that I mentioned. So one thing was that I would like to see more steps in the rate divide knob. And then another thing that I would mention is the interface. It's okay, scaling and things like that. Look, it's great. You can really scale it down, but you sort of need to adjust it a bit because often it has a lot of white space on it. But it does scale very flexibly, so that's great. Also about the interface, I think it's very well designed in terms of functionality. It's very clear the way the different settings are. It responds well to touch. It's easy to dial things in. The knobs behave well, and so on. But one thing I wouldn't mind seeing is a bit of a more inspirational UI. I don't particularly like this white color. The look of this app does not fit to me in any way the way the app sounds. I think that recently Blease have been setting a really, really high bar for what a nice user interface is like, and they're kind of the standard that I'm holding other developers to now. So I do see a bit of room for improvement there. But in terms of sound and stuff, really great. If you like apps like this, I'd like to give you a few recommendations for videos I've done on a couple of similar things. For example, you could watch my video on Saturn, where I just showed you what Saturn could do to just a simple sine wave. That is, of course, FabFilter's saturator plugin. So you might be interested in watching that. Another thing that springs to mind similar that I did, for example, Blease Saturator, you might want to check that out. Another thing would be FAC Bandit, which has the very cool feature of being able to apply things to specific bandwidths. And it also has delay and reverb and things like that built in as well that you can choose. So for example, with that one, you can apply a reverb to just the higher frequencies, for example, and you could apply a saturator to the mid frequencies. You could apply a delay or something to the bass, whatever. You've got a lot of flexibility. So those are all other videos that I've done on apps that you might be interested in checking out if you like beef. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.